Most of you are trying to get jacked with the same mindset that kept you average. And that's exactly the reason why you keep falling off. And what if I told you there's one thing that has nothing to do with your training or your diet, and it's the real reason you're finally going to get jacked and stay that way? And if you're new here, my name is Yannick, and I make these videos in order to help guys get jacked without confusion, without falling off, and without making fitness their entire lives. In this video, I'm going to give you the single highest ROI mental shift that not only gets you jacked, but keeps you jacked long term. And I talk about this because I've been in your shoes. I used to have these locked in phases where I was dialed for 2 weeks. Then I'd fall off, feel disappointed, and repeat the same cycle over again. You know that frustration, brother. You know exactly what to do, yet for some reason you still can't hold your own word. And you keep slipping back into old habits that are out of alignment with the guy you're trying to become. So let me show you how to shift your mindset so you can get jacked, stay jacked, and finally break out of that loop for good. You need to become that version of yourself right now. And it starts with your self-image. Understand that mental picture you have of who you are. That's what your habits, actions, and behaviors follow. Whether you admit it or not, your behavior is always consistent with your self-image. See it as your internal autopilot. And if you keep operating on that old version of you, you're going to keep making decisions based on emotions. You only train if you feel like it, or you reach for junk food in order to be comforted. And what you need to be doing instead is to make decisions based on your identity instead of emotions. With whatever you do, you need to be asking yourself, what would the jacked version of me do right now? And you need to detach from the outcome. So instead of saying, I want to become jacked or I want to be consistent, you need to identify as the guy that's already jacked and consistent. I am the type of guy that never misses a gym session no matter what. Because in reality, people always act in alignment with who they believe they are. And when you change the way you see yourself, you replace your autopilot with a new compass. And over time, it starts course correcting and steering you in the right direction without effort. And that's when everything becomes easier. And the good news, my brother, is that everyone can change their self-image and replace their autopilot with a new compass by this one simple exercise. You're going to grab pen and paper and you're going to write an entire page on that 2.0 version of yourself, the version that's already jacked. And what's most important, that you clearly define the feelings you're going to feel when you're there. And the most important thing you want to write down is how are you going to feel when you get there. And don't just say, I'm going to feel great. Write down the specific emotions you're going to feel when you're already jacked. Write down what it means to you. Write down how you act. Do you act based on emotions or do you act based on identity? How do you look? How do you go about your day? What do your meals look like? Write down all these things hyper specifically. How do you handle stress? Do you get thrown off easily or do you remain calm when you're in a stressful situation? How do you train? Are you active? Are you present? Or are you going to doom scroll between sets? Another thing you want to write down is how you talk about yourself, whether that's in your own head or to others, your friends, your family, because that's going to project your behavior. I personally used to struggle a lot with binge eating, and I would tell all my friends that I was addicted to sugar and that I couldn't cope with that addiction. Guess what? That fueled more into my addiction, and that sort of projected the behavior onto myself, and that would actually make it super hard for me to stay away from comfort food. Now this page is what I call your identity script. And once you nail that down, you're going to read it every morning and evening, right after waking up and before bed. Because that's when your subconscious is most receptive. In the first 5 to 15 minutes of your day, your brain is in the so-called theta state. This state is associated with deep relaxation, creativity, and memory consolidation. And in the last few minutes before bed, your brain is in the so-called hypnagogic state. That's when your conscious mind powers down and the subconscious is exposed. Whatever you're going to feed your brain in this time is going to run on loop during your sleep. Your brain literally rehearses it overnight. And for me, everything changed when I started programming my subconscious to become that person I want to become. Because I've plateaued for years, I've been struggling with binge eating, and I would constantly look for a new program or new diet to follow because of the lack of my results. And I would see progress, but it was very restrictive, non-sustainable, and I would constantly fall off again. I was still operating from the same autopilot as previously, and I actually haven't replaced it with a new compass. The moment I started envisioning my future self on the daily and programming my subconscious in that way, that's when I started naturally gravitating towards becoming that version I want to be. And that's when everything's gonna change. Your discipline, your habits, everything is just gonna be more in alignment with who you truly want to become. And what I want you to take away from this video is that if your self-image stays the same, your results are going to stay the same, no matter how perfect your training and your diet are. Now, if you took some value from this video, hit the subscribe button, leave me a like, and I appreciate you for watching. And if you truly want to level up, rewire your mindset, and finally become that jacked version of yourself, DM me the word jacked on Instagram or book a call with me, and I'll see if you're a fit for my one-on-one coaching. You can find both links in the description. Have a good one. Ciao.